Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right, guys. Didn't do a recap on Friday, so finally we are back with the Monday recap and some analysis for you. We're going to look at the market bounce today. Is it here going to stay or not? We'll look at our Bitcoin and MSTR long bias, long idea, big trade for us on Friday. Maybe I'll recap it a bit today. Then we'll look at our morning winners and then look at a couple of losers, and then we'll go from there. So decent start. I mean, nothing crazy. I was actually done in the first half an hour with a bunch of good trades. So we'll see how the rest of the week goes. A lot of earnings coming up, and let's get started with a recap. Let's do a quick introduction to anybody who's new to my Twitter, my YouTube, or new to our community, guys. All these trade recaps and all these teachings that I'm going to discuss here are from the trade ideas that are mostly in my community, or I'm sharing on my Twitter. Like today, I shared the chart on Twitter on the SAVA, or I'm sharing with you guys in my previous YouTube videos. If I talked about any swings or any investment ideas, we're going to recap that. We only do repeatable setups. We do a repeatable system that thousands of traders across the world use to trade consistently, and repeatable setups that we trade every day, whether it's a day trade, swing trade, investment, whatever we do, it's everything is repeatable. Every day before the market open, me and my team, we create a game plan for every day. You can see the game plan in front of you. There's upgrades, downgrades, news, earnings, market plays, which are based on the market, IPOs, and some technical setups. So there was a bunch of names today on our watch list. Nothing crazy. We had Verizon, Chinese names on the watch list, which really didn't do much for me. So I didn't do anything there. But there was a SAVA, and then there was, of course, there was CrowdStrike, which was a day 2, day 3 setup. So we'll discuss all those. In addition to these, we also share what we call as our day 2, day 3 setups. This is a repeatable strategy that I invented. Today it was CrowdStrike, Netflix, SMH, ASML. Nothing crazy that I traded out of these because market was mostly chop in the morning, and we'll discuss other place. And in addition to that, I share my daily levels. I share my daily levels for all the market plays like SPY, QQQ, VIX. VIX is always very important level for us. I give these levels to the community so that they can trade their own. They use these levels, support and resistance pivots, combining with EMA clouds. So these levels you can use on a trend day. These levels work pretty nicely. We provide these levels 20 minutes before the market open to everyone. In addition to that, we have our crypto setups. There were today they worked out again. Coin, MSTR. We'll talk about those setups. Although I have been talking about coin and MSTR for over a week. If you watch my previous videos, and we'll discuss how they are looking and what's the chart setups. Anyways, this is what we provide to our community so that we are ready for trade. I'm on the voice first few hours of the market, live guidance on the market. Market is bullish, bearish, what is moving, what is strong, what is long, what is short. We'll discuss all that. Anyways, let's start with our first trade recap of the day. All right, guys. Let's start with the SPY and QQQ. So what was happening today? So in the pre-market guidance, I was discussing the charts on SPY and QQQ. Let's look here. So we talked about this level on SPY, right? I posted, let me show you guys. So I posted this chart yesterday talking about importance of these levels, right? So we are down 6% almost on Qs. So this was a potential spot to bounce for a relief bounce, right? Same was for SPY. This was a potential area for a bounce. But the problem right now today was again the gap up, right? If it was not a gap up, becomes a very low risk, high reward trade because you are using that daily level for the bounce. But when we gap up, it kind of spoils our setup. How do we long it, and that's what happened. But anyways, we were able to scalp some longs. I can show you here. Let's look here. So if we see here, the first thing I tell in the morning is SPY is good for long scalps are okay, and we were scalping it long. I had like a 40% on my QQQs from the open. You can see I had a 50%. So I had a 50% on QQQs because why were we trying to scalp long? I'm going to take this off. You can see there we have these clouds here. Maybe I can I was trying to make it less more transparent. So anyways, so we had a bunch of EMA clouds kind of bunched together. This is 1 hour EMA cloud and this is a daily EMA cloud. So the point was we wanted to continue long if this continues to push, right? But it suddenly gave up. We were long, it suddenly gave up. It pulled back and we cut our morning calls, right? So I told everybody just cut the morning calls right here. So let's see if so we cut our morning calls right when it started rejecting right off that level. Right here you see there was a resistance here. If they were looking good, then they reject here, right? So when they reject here, we have to wait because we have a gap fill down here. So that's kind of makes the trade a little difficult to manage because of the risk in the gap fill, because we have a bunch of these resistances here. Yes, it bounced from these clouds, that's okay, but then it was setting up, it rejected again. I talked about this setup as well. Let me show you, if I can show you here. So I talked about this setup as well. This setup, this one, right? We bounced and we were curling for a breakout. Then we rejected that again. See, 1 2 3 triple top. So I told everyone that it's not going to work. If you're trading this bounce, just take it off. Maybe we get another breakout, try again. You see, this is a wall of resistance. So but anyways, our morning trade was this long, these first two candles. Now let's look at our midday trade. So for our midday trade, the setup that we were watching was this reclaim of bullishness, right here at around 12, right? So it tried to dip and it could never break down because there was a support here, right here. That support. Frankly, this action is very tough to trade because we want to see a continuous move, higher highs, higher lows, nor this up and down chop. So I was not really involved in any of these trades because I'm not interested in this up down. But regardless, there was a midday bullish setup right here, then bullish setup that was developing here. So I did tweet that as well. You see here, let's look here. You see that how it's bouncing from this lower trend line, bouncing from this support, and it's trying to break out again. Right, so a lot of traders in the community were long from this curl that was happening in middle of the day. Let's see if I had that alerts here going when we were turning bullish, right? So this midday curl trade, you have can stops here right under clouds, but the real setup that we were looking at was this 1 hour breakout that I discussed right here. 1 hour breakout. It did kind of work out. I mean, we did push. Even I tweeted about this setup. You can see that we started to break out of the 1 hour flag, 1 hour EMA clouds. So we are kind of turning bullish, and you can see the next candle made a nice move. And so that was the midday long setup that we were trading. You could see this chop. But if you come out of the 10-minute chart, you will actually see that we are actually trying to turn bullish. This is actually trend. The main trades which we will discuss later on this bounce were NVIDIA and Tesla. Those were our midday curls because market was curling, but you can clearly see what was happening. Ideally, we would have wanted a better trade, all day trend, push from here, high lows, but instead we came down to the support level, held the 1 hour clouds, and then pushed higher. It was nothing crazy. It was just a simple midday scalp. Once not here, you add here, right here, you add here, and of course there's 1 hour chart, and then we have this breakout, slow grind, nothing special. And we were actually scalping the stocks based upon this market push. Anyways, so that was the whole thing that was happening on SPY QQ today. Now what happens tomorrow? We don't know. So today we were tracking VIX. I told everybody if VIX stays under 16, my SPY VIX strategy, we should get some bounce. We did get a bounce, but very choppy bounce, because today even the 10-year yields were very strong. So remember, yields, VIX, US dollar. If those are strong, market is usually weak. So when the VIX started to reject, market tried to bounce. It was okay bounce, nothing really crazy. Doesn't mean that we are out of the woods. We can still test this resistance, pull back. right? Qs is not out of the woods yet, right? We will be watching this this trend line tomorrow, and we will see how it reacts in this area. So if we push here, then maybe that's a lot of resistance up here. So if we tomorrow we stay above 483s, then we have chance to pull higher, push higher. And then we have SPY, same thing, a lot of resistance here in 555, 566 area. So if we reclaim that, then we have chance to push higher. There's a lot of chance if we can reject from here. We just need to be ready. A lot of earnings coming up. Google earnings will be big. Tesla earnings will be big. So so we will trade accordingly. Now, for now, VIX is in a safe zone. It has rejected 16. If tomorrow we reject 1450s, we fade under, we get back into this range, market will be bullish again. But be cautious if you kind of if you kind of bounce from this area on VIX, we will have a problems again tomorrow. So in summary, we are not really out of the woods yet. It's just a one-day bounce. We'll take it one day at a time. Today the trading was choppy in SPY QQQ. Definitely a good lesson to learn. We would want SPY to hold this 1 hour MTF Clouds for us to stay long. Tomorrow long over 555 breakout, 483.50 breakout on the Qs. Hopefully there's no big gap up. If we break these 480 level, 553 level, when we have to be bearish. So that's the plan for tomorrow. All right, now let's look at some of our winning trades today. Okay, it was our trade was SAVA. SAVA was our long, beautiful winner today in the morning. Let's look at my trade guidance here. So you can see that the first thing I told the community was SAVA versus 1030 long. Now, what was the plan? Let's go back to our plan. SAVA CEO had issued a kind of a bullish letter. There was a bunch of things in it, but it was kind of a bullish. So I had risk level was 10 and pivot level was 1071. We were bullish to neutral, but as soon as the market opened, I saw a very good risk reward versus this area. That's why I told everyone bullish bias, we are long. And not only that, I did tweet on SAVA. Let's see if I can find that. What I tweeted on SAVA first thing in the morning. We can actually go back. Actually, this was a nice alert for my followers as well on Twitter. So SAVA was in the gap, of course. It was a little later alert on Twitter than my community because we were long in 1060s, 1070s. So this was a gap setup. That's why I was bullish, because I knew if we push, there's a bullish news. Beautiful breakout right here, and with that breakout we can easily push into this gap into 1230s or 1240s target. And then you can see we pushed to 1230s, and then we pushed into $13, and then we even tried to push over 1350s, and we hit 1379s by end of the day. Very easy setup. 1 hour MTF Clouds gave me enough conviction, 10-minute Clouds, and then of course we have this daily breakout setup that I just showed you guys, this gap. So you can see 1030 long bias, good, log half off on the way, 12 target, 13 target, 14 target, and then middle of the day when it breaks 512, that's when you exit, and then you buy the bounce, 34.50, bounce, midday setup, and then it was a nice trade from there as well. Traders are still holding. We're still holding some of the shares. It was a shares trade because I do like SAVA. I think there's a nice base versus 10 risk, can be a good swing upward. So we'll be watching any pullbacks, basing, and we'll be traded. But anyways, a great win. Even if you added 1050, 1060, you risk 60 cents. You made like $2, $2.50. 1 risk to 3 trade. Beautiful trade. Really big win. Really sized up in the morning and had a good winner on SAVA. We had a pre-market plan. We had a 1 hour, 1 daily setup. We had Clouds to help us on 10 minutes. Really did good there. All right, let's quickly talk about CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike was, again, we came in with the bearish bias. Let's look here in the game plan. Bunch of up downgrades. And I told everybody it's a day 2 setup, bearish under 290. And resistance 300. It broke 290 right out of the gate, and CrowdStrike, my friends, was our bearish setup. And I don't think it's it's really anything genius. Everybody were bearish, but we had our system to give us that confidence, right? Short today, watch the bounces, and I was in 280 puts, which went from $11 to 22 bucks, 100% for me. The target I gave right at the like first 10-15 minutes, I gave 270 target. When our 270 target met, I gave 265 target, and then we met 265 target. When we met our 265 target, we rolled into 260 puts, and it started to curl, and we were about to stop out, but it never reclaimed our 512s, and then it faded back again, another short, and our 260 puts again, came to life. But then it started to curl. That's where I cut my short, and then we tried to long it. I used my profit. Let's say you have made $3,000 on short. You take $700-800 out of that, buy a call option, which is a lotto, and if it works, that $600-700-800 becomes another $1,600-1,700. If they don't, max you lose the profit from the morning. Anyways, I think I had 280s lotos or maybe 275s, don't remember. But anyways, we tried to curl, and it failed curl, and I cut for minus 10% loss. You can see our alerts going in. I told everybody to cover their shorts right here at 265.50s, and it pushed to 260. We were actually up $2.50 to $2 when this was curling, and then it failed the curl, and we were out. So that was the trades today on CrowdStrike. Still very bearish. No need to buy it. A lot of people just want to buy it. It's not ready yet. The support on CrowdStrike is somewhere in 240s, right? So no need to chase this, guys. This is how you lose big money. Just because it's down so much, it's not the reason to buy it. Reason to buy it when you see the buyer stepping in. So maybe we gap down tomorrow, flush hard, then we can look for the longs, somewhere close to 250, 240. Ideally 240 area zone is the best zone there. But anyways, big win, nice 100% on the put options today for the community. All right, let's look at some losing trades today. Boeing. So Boeing was kind of bullish at open, and I was long. I told everybody long idea because 1 hour was pushing. But you check this out here. This was daily MTF Clouds. That's 2021 EMA. This is 50-55 EMA. So it was right into resistance. I knew it's up there. It's up there. So there was only like a small position, but you see that resistance up there. And that's what rejected, and then it pulled back, and it tried to bounce, bear flag, broke down again. I was kind of biased on the news, I guess. There was a news, and it was kind of bullish news that there some new orders and all those kind of stuff, and versus 180 I was bullish, but didn't really work. I could have shorted it when this broke down here, but at least we didn't really lose too much money because it broke 180 and it faded to 177, yesterday's lows, and bouncing from there. So we'll see how it does tomorrow. Real long is only when it gets over 1 hour clouds, and then it gets over our daily clouds. Let's look at Verizon today. So Verizon was our morning short winner. Beautiful trade. Let's go back and see. The plan on Verizon was simple. It was earning bearish buys to short the pops. 39.80 was our support. As soon as I saw the weakness, 39.80 broke down. I told everybody to short it. Short versus 40. Risk is what? Nothing. Your risk is like 20-30 cents, right? And it flushed to 38.70. You made $1 risking 30 cents. That's a good trade. I didn't trade the put options on them. I'm sure they went at least 30-40% because that's enough for the move that Verizon makes. It's a low beta stock. But anyways, we're supposed to cover the short here, and we did, and it was curling, and then it faded again. I think there was some news out. I didn't get this bear flag breakdown, but it was a nice short again from 39. But decent winner. I think we'll watch it for day 2 as well. It's right into the support now, 38.50. So we'll have to be cautious. It can very well curl from that big support on daily chart. Small little winner in the morning today. All right, let's look at AMD. AMD for me was mostly nothing intraday, but I did give a swing overnight on AMD on Friday. So we had added a swing. Stops were 150. My entry was right here on the curls around 152 area, and it gapped up nicely. I was up like almost $4 from my entry. I did sell a little bit, but I'm holding the swing. Want to see the continuation. If it comes back to my break-even price, then probably I'll cut it. It's not bullish yet, but definitely eyes on it. I plan to hold the swing. Let's look at Apple. So Apple was, what was happening on Apple? Apple initially was bullish. Again, remember, when things are gapping up, there's a different way to manage those setups. Now Apple was trying to push over the 1 hour MTF Cloud. You can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. It could not do it. And once it broke both the clouds, 10-minute and 1 hour, that was time to short it. Let's see what I was saying here. Right? So as soon as I saw that breakdown, I told everybody bearish under the clouds, full gap fill coming at yesterday's lows, and then that's what it did. It broke down and filled the full gap. And then we traded the curl setup, because remember when I showed you the market bounce, at the same time I saw this setup setting up right here. So this setup, very high confidence. What was the risk here? You long here, starters, your risk is 60-70 cents. You don't even have to risk that much. You can add right under there's clouds. You can risk the low of these candles at 23.50, and then you wait for the curl, because market was curling. It was giving me a confidence that we're gonna get a curl here, and then it pushed nicely. I risked what did I risk? 223.70. I risked like 20 cents, and then it curled. I did a little bit more, and then it went on to push to 25.50. We made like $1.60, risking 60-70 cents. That was a nice trade, right? And that was our midday call winner, and that was thanks to the market. So you can see what I was talking about. And then base S223 trying to curl B minus setup. This was the alert on 224.512 curl, another alert at 225.25 curls, and we continued to curl and we pushed nicely. And then once it broke these clouds, you get out. All right, let's talk about SMCI now. SMCI, what was our levels on SMCI in the pre-market? SMCI levels were 800, 795. When I saw it breaking down this cloud, and look, it's rejecting the 1 hour MTF clouds. So you can see that. And so it's bearish, right? I told everybody on SMCI that bearish, avoid long once it breaking down, and it was short under 800. It's that simple. It faded like 30 points. That was enough for a nice trade on the puts. Nothing crazy, but definitely a good short trade in the community today. Let's look at Starbucks now. So Starbucks was also one of our game plan plays. Let's go here and look here on Starbucks. Starbucks, the plan was short under 78, long over it. The reason Starbucks was a good setup, because it ran so much the other day. And you see the clouds are right here. This is one of my favorite setup, when I see something run up so much and the clouds and the pre-market support is right around that area. That gives me a good confidence, right? It was not my guidance there. I was not watching it, but RGV gave really nice guidance on that Starbucks short right from the open. So he told them right from the open, and you can see the fade on 1 hour clouds. Beautiful trade, and then right into our multi-time frame 1 hour clouds and daily clouds. That's why you cover there. Beautiful short, beautiful winner. Our all trades are with the system, right? You simply have to respect the system. Closer to the clouds you trade, better the setup. And like I said, I cover these in my webinars. I have 13 14 setups. I show it in my webinars, where to long, when to short, what is the trigger, how's the position size. I cover everything. Now let's go back and look at Tesla and NVIDIA. So these were two similar setups, and these were two similar setups with the market. This is one of high probability midday setups. You see this downtrend line, you can call it a flag. You can create a rough downtrend line here as well. What's happening here? There's a line of support, and look here, there's a 1 hour EMAs. 1 hour EMAs, my friend, 1 hour multi-time frame clouds. That's what is there. You don't even need to go to 1 hour chart, but you can see that 1 hour EMAs is giving the support. That's the power of multi-time frame clouds. And that was the long setup with the market going higher. So look here, there was our alert 12 p.m. right here, 248.41 flag reversal, 34.50 1 hour bounce. That's just what I told you. That was the setup, and it was same for NVIDIA. That was the same for NVIDIA. Let's look here. When NVIDIA was crossing this area right here, 121, right here, that was a long setup. That was mostly guidance in the community, but you can see the similar setups happening with the market. So it's very important to understand the power of 1 hour EMA clouds that I built. It's simple. It's nothing magical. It's just something I just, because traders don't see it. Yes, we have 1 hour charts, but I put it on 10-minute chart with my clouds so that we can find those trading opportunities. And you can see this gives you a risk level to manage your trade. All you need is a risk level that you can use to manage your trades. So that was a Tesla, NVIDIA midday winners for the community. Did really nice, mostly on Tesla. I was not on NVIDIA, but a lot of traders were. But you can see that there was a seller on 250 that cleared, and then we hit 252s. Right, that was a good trade. Even if you added 248s, that risk was what, like $1, less than $1, and you could make like $4. Beautiful risk reward trade. All right, let's look at some other trades from the community. So other trades from community was JMIA. JMIA was not my idea, but we were continuously talking about in the community all day, and that's the beauty of our trading floor. All day there's so many ideas, and Raj was on top of it since morning on JMIA. I'm very proud of my traders because I find some good traders, I build confidence, and then I give them higher level, bring them up. And I'm so proud of, because everyone out there is a good trader. You just need a confidence. They're better traders than me, much better traders than me in the community, and I like to encourage them. And JMIA was just a solid play. A lot of flow this morning and a lot of call outs in the community. Beautiful daily flag breakout right here, downtrend line breakout. Beautiful trade. Proud of my traders. All right, guys, let's wrap up talking about coin and MSTR. First of all, beautiful setup to continue the run. I already shared the charts on Twitter, but we can talk about it on Friday. I was talking about, I've been talking about since days, right? If you go back to since there was a flow on June 12th, then we talked about Donald Trump's Bitcoin conference. That was one catalyst. That's fine. Then JD Vance came up. That was the second catalyst. And then Donald Trump said this: we are implementing Bitcoin reserve. So then implementing a Bitcoin reserve for US, and that was our trade in the community on Friday. I did not do a recap, but it was a huge winner there. And you can see that now what's happening. You can see all my tweets there. But today on the coin, if you look here, the long was not in the morning, not here, not there. Here was the long. Here was the long. Cloud curls was the long. This you long here, 512 curls, breakout, you hold. You don't take profit and you hold it, because when you curl here and your risk is right here, and it's easy 512 repeatable setup that I teach again and again in my midday webinars. Very profitable trade for the community. Whole community was on coin today. You can see that how everybody was trading coin. Great guidance by Vince. Drag was on top of it. Vishal was on top of it. There were many traders on the top of it trading coin all day. And then of course there's MSTR, which is little illiquid. It's better near the lot of Fridays, but definitely beautiful setups. I think if we break out 1800 tomorrow, MSTR we're gonna push more, and then if coin has room to get back to all-time highs or 270 area or something like that. So definitely great trades, great setups, and we will be watching them. We will be watching them tomorrow as well for our long trades over those levels. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys had a good day as well. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. Big day. Tesla, Google earnings will be fun. By the way, guys, we just partnered with Whoop. And Whoop is another platform to to get the traders on. Let's see if I can show you guys. So yeah, it's another platform. You can pray through WOP. WOP is an ecosystem. A lot of traders buy their communities or chat rooms or whatever through WOP. So we partner with them so that more traders on WOP can join our community who prefer paying through WOP. So definitely look at it. And we are going to our 1 year anniversary, so we will be doing some promos on WOP as well. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Come join the community. Do not come for the alerts. Come for the guidance and the knowledge and the setups. I'm happy to help you. Take care. Bye.